Admiral Kyle Harrison stood at the window of his office on Earth's Luna Station. He watched the blue and white planet below turn slowly in space. The message on his desk had arrived 3 hours ago, and he still could not believe what it said. Grand Galactic Convention wanted him to come to their meeting. Earth had never been invited before. In fact, most alien races barely knew humans existed. The message was short and simple, but Kyle could feel the mockery in every word. "Captain Morgan, come in here," Kyle called to his aide. Lisa Morgan walked into the office. She was a smart woman who had served with Kyle for 5 years. Her job was to help him make good decisions about military matters. She looked at the message and frowned. "This smells like a trap, Admiral," Lisa said. "The Xanthari Empire sent this invitation. They hate humans. Why would they want us at their big meeting?" Kyle picked up the message and read it again. The Grand Galactic Convention happened every year on a neutral planet called Vexus Prime. All the major alien races came to show off their best warships and make deals with each other. It was part military show and part political meeting. "They want to embarrass us," Kyle said. "They want to show the whole galaxy that humans are weak and stupid." Lisa nodded. "The Xanthari think we are like children playing with toys. They have ships that can destroy entire planets. What do we have that could impress them?" Kyle smiled. "Maybe more than they think." 3 days later, Kyle was on a transport ship heading to Vexus Prime. The planet looked beautiful from space. It had purple oceans and silver cities that sparkled in the light of twin suns. But Kyle was not there to see the sights. The convention center was enormous. It could hold 50,000 beings from different worlds. Kyle walked through the main entrance and felt very small. Aliens of all shapes and sizes filled the massive halls. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of living crystal. A few looked almost human but had blue skin and extra arms. "Welcome to the Grand Galactic Convention," said a voice behind him. Kyle turned to see a tall alien with gray skin and 4 eyes. "I am Ambassador Toth of the Neutral Council. You must be the human representative." "Admiral Kyle Harrison, Earth." "Defense Fleet," Kyle replied. "Ah, yes, Earth," Toth said with a slight smile. "The new species. How exciting. I hope you brought something interesting to show us." Kyle was taken to a special area where all the military leaders sat. The Xanthari Admiral Vorthek was there, looking like a walking tank covered in black armor. His red eyes glowed as he stared at Kyle. "So the little humans finally decided to join us," Vorthek said in a voice like grinding metal. "I hope you brought more than those tiny ships we saw near your world." Kyle sat down calmly. "We brought what we brought." The first day of the convention was all about showing off. Each alien race took turns displaying their most powerful warships. The Xanthari went first, and Kyle had to admit their ships were impressive. They had massive dreadnoughts that were 10 miles long. Their weapons could turn a moon into dust. The crowd cheered as the Xanthari ships performed complex maneuvers in the sky above the convention center. The ships moved in perfect formation, their dark hulls reflecting the sunlight like mirrors. Next came the Kethver, a race of beings made from living crystal. Their ships were beautiful and deadly. They could bend energy around themselves and fire beams of pure force that could cut through anything. The crowd gasped as the Kethver ships danced through the air like glowing butterflies. The Threks were next. They looked like giant praying mantises and flew ships that could split apart into hundreds of smaller vessels. Their swarm tactics were famous throughout the galaxy. Kyle watched as one large ship became a cloud of fighters that moved like a school of fish. Other races showed their ships too. The Void Walkers had vessels that could disappear and reappear anywhere they wanted. The Metal Singers had ships that could repair themselves in the middle of battle. Each display was met with applause and political talk. Kyle noticed that the alien leaders were watching him carefully. They wanted to see fear in his eyes. They wanted him to look impressed and scared. Instead, Kyle just sat quietly and took notes. "Worried, human?" Admiral Vorthak asked during a break. "Your turn is coming tomorrow." "I look forward to it," Kyle replied. That night, Kyle stood on the balcony of his hotel room. The alien ships hung in the sky like deadly stars. Some were so large they blocked out parts of the night sky. Kyle touched a small device on his wrist and spoke quietly. "This is Harrison. Are you ready?" A voice answered from the device, but it was so quiet that only Kyle could hear it. "We have been ready for 3 days, Admiral. Just give us the word." Kyle smiled and looked up at the stars. Tomorrow would be very interesting. The next morning, the convention hall was packed. Every seat was filled with beings from across the galaxy. They had all come to see what the humans would show them. Most expected to be disappointed. Some expected to laugh. Admiral Vorthak stood up and spoke to the crowd. "Today we will see what the newest members of our galactic community have to offer. I am sure it will be educational." The crowd laughed. Kyle could feel thousands of alien eyes staring at him. He stood up slowly and walked to the center of the speaking area. "Distinguished delegates," Kyle began, "Earth is honored to be here today. We know that many of you see us as the new race, the young species that has much to learn." More laughter from the crowd. "You have shown us ships that can destroy worlds, bend reality, and command the void itself. Truly impressive displays of power and technology." Kyle paused and looked around the room. "Our entry in this competition is different. It is not flashy or obvious. In fact, it is already here, but you cannot see it." The laughter stopped. A confused silence filled the hall. "What do you mean?" Admiral Vorthak demanded. Kyle smiled. "I mean, our ship has been watching this convention for 3 days. It has been studying your vessels, learning your tactics, and preparing for this moment. You just cannot see it because humans have learned to hide in plain sight." The crowd exploded into angry voices. Some aliens stood up and shouted. Others demanded proof. Admiral Vorthak's red eyes burned with fury. "You lie," he roared. "No ship could hide from our sensors. We would have detected any human vessel." Kyle remained calm. "Would you?" The questions and angry voices continued for several minutes. Kyle just stood there, waiting. Finally, Ambassador Toth called for order. "If the human claims are true, then prove it," Toth said. "Show us this invisible ship." Kyle looked up at the ceiling of the convention hall. High above, through the transparent dome, alien ships hung in the sky like sleeping giants. But Kyle knew something they did not. Among those ships, hidden from their sensors and invisible to their eyes, was humanity's greatest achievement. "Very well," Kyle said. He touched his wrist device again. "This is Harrison. Light her up." The crowd looked up at the sky, waiting to see what would happen. For a moment, nothing changed. Then, slowly, like a ghost becoming real, the largest ship anyone had ever seen began to appear above the convention center. 3 days before Admiral Harrison made his dramatic announcement, the USS Leviathan hung invisible in the darkness of space near Vexus Prime. The massive ship was completely hidden from alien sensors, its revolutionary stealth technology bending light and energy around its hull like water flowing around a stone. Captain Jake Sullivan stood on the bridge of the Supercarrier, watching the alien ships arrive for the convention. He was a calm man with gray hair and steady eyes. He had commanded the Leviathan for 2 years, but this was their most important mission yet. "Another Xanthari battle group just jumped in," reported Lieutenant Commander Amy Blake from her position at the tactical station. Amy was the ship's lead fighter pilot, but she also served as the tactical officer when not flying. That makes 12 of their dreadnoughts now, Jake nodded. Keep recording everything. I want detailed scans of every ship, every weapon, every weakness. The Leviathan was Earth's most advanced warship, but it was also Earth's most secret. Very few people knew it existed. The ship was 15 miles long and carried 200 of the most advanced fighters ever built. More importantly, it carried technology that the aliens had never seen before Dr. Rachel Kim looked up from her science station. She was a small woman with black hair and sharp eyes. Her job was to study alien technology and find ways to improve. Human ships. Captain, I'm picking up some interesting communications from the alien fleets. What kind of communications? Jake asked. They're talking about Earth, Rachel said. The Zenthari are planning something. They invited Admiral Harrison. Here, but not to be friendly. They want to embarrass us in front of the entire galaxy. Jake walked over to Rachel's station. What exactly are they saying? Rachel played back the alien communications. The voices were translated by the ship's computer, but Jake could still hear the mockery in their tones. The Zenthari were calling. Humans, the pet species, and the galaxy's newest joke. There's more, Rachel said. 3 other alien races are supporting the Zenthari plan. They want to use this convention to show everyone that humans are too weak to matter in galactic politics. Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. What else? They're also worried about human technology advancing too. Quickly, some of them are talking about taking action to slow us down. Amy Blake turned around in her chair. What kind of action? The kind that involves weapons, Rachel said quietly. Jake walked to the main view screen and stared at the alien. Ships. They hung in space like sleeping predators, beautiful and deadly. But they could not see the Leviathan. They had no idea that humanity was watching them and listening to their every word. Commander Blake, I want you to take a squadron out for reconnaissance, Jake ordered. Stay invisible and get close to those ships. I want to know everything about their capabilities. Amy smiled. Yes, sir. How close do you want us to get? Close enough to count the rivets on their hulls. 20 minutes later, Amy was in the cockpit of her fighter, leading 11 other pilots out of the Leviathan's launch bay. The human fighters were sleek and deadly, but more importantly, they were invisible. Like the Leviathan, they used advanced stealth technology that made them impossible to detect. Lieutenant Chris Parker flew on Amy's wing. He was a young pilot with quick reflexes and a sharp mind. This was his first major mission, and he was excited to prove himself. Stay close and stay quiet, Amy said over the radio. We're going to fly right through their formations, and they won't even know we're there. The squadron moved silently through space toward the alien ships. The Zenthari dreadnoughts were massive, each one larger than anything Earth had ever built before the Leviathan. Their hulls were black and covered with weapon ports that could fire beams of energy hot enough to melt steel. Amy led her fighters in a careful pattern around this first dreadnought. Her ship's sensors recorded everything: the location of weapons, the strength of shields, the composition of armor. The information was automatically sent back to the Leviathan for analysis. Look at those gun ports, Chris whispered over the radio. They must have hundreds of weapons. Quality over quantity, Amy replied. Dr. Kim will find their weak spots. The squadron continued its reconnaissance, moving from ship to ship like invisible ghosts. They flew past Kethfor crystal ships that sparkled like diamonds in the starlight. They circled around Threx vessels that looked like giant metal insects. They even got close to the mysterious Void Walker ships that seemed to bend space around themselves. Back on the Leviathan, Dr. Kim was analyzing the data as it came in. She had been studying alien technology for years, but seeing it this close was incredible. She could see design flaws and weaknesses that the aliens probably didn't even know existed. "Captain," she called to Jake, "I'm seeing some interesting patterns in their ship designs." Jake came over to her station. "What kind of patterns?" "They're all designed to fight each other," Rachel explained. "The Zenthari build their ships to counter Kethver energy weapons. The Kethver design their ships to avoid Threx swarm tactics. But none of them are designed to fight something they can't see." Jake nodded. "Keep analyzing. I want to know everything." On the second day of reconnaissance, Amy's squadron made an important discovery. While flying near a group of Zenthari ships, they detected a secret meeting between alien military commanders. The meeting was taking place on a small ship, hidden behind one of the larger dreadnoughts. "Captain," Amy reported back to the Leviathan, "we've found something big. The alien commanders are holding a secret meeting." "Can you get close enough to listen?" Jake asked. "Already on it," Amy replied. She directed her fighter to move closer to the meeting ship. Her sensors could pick up the conversations inside. What Amy heard made her blood run cold. The alien commanders were not just planning to embarrass humanity at the convention. They were planning to attack Earth itself. The meeting was about dividing up human territory after they destroyed Earth's defenses. "They're planning a war," Amy reported. "They want to attack Earth right after the convention ends." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "Are you sure?" "I'm recording everything," Amy said. "The Zenthari Admiral is talking about using this convention as a distraction while they move their main fleet into position near Earth." Dr. Kim looked up from her station. "Captain, if they attack Earth, our home fleet won't be able to stop them. We have good ships, but not enough to fight 4 alien races at once." Jake stared at the view screen, thinking hard. The Leviathan was powerful, but it was just one ship. Could it really make a difference against an entire alien alliance? "How many ships are we talking about?" he asked. Rachel checked her data. "At least 60 major warships, plus hundreds of smaller vessels. They're planning to hit Earth with everything. They have." Chris Parker's voice came over the radio from his fighter. "Captain, I'm seeing more ships jumping in. Looks like they're getting ready to move." Jake made a decision. "All fighters return to base immediately. We need to warn Admiral Harrison and prepare for battle." As Amy's squadron flew back to the Leviathan, Jake opened a secure communication channel to the planet below. Admiral Harrison needed to know what was happening, but they had to be careful. The aliens were probably listening to all communications. "Admiral, this is Sullivan," Jake said when the connection was established. "The fish are swimming upstream." "Repeat, the fish are swimming upstream." It was a code phrase they had established before the mission. It meant the aliens were planning to attack Earth. Harrison's voice came back calm and steady. "Understood. Continue with the mission as planned." Jake closed the channel and turned to his crew. "All right, people. We came here to show the aliens what humans can do. It looks like we're going to get that chance sooner than expected." Dr. Kim pulled up a tactical display showing all the alien ships. "Captain, I've finished analyzing their weaknesses. I think I know how we can beat them." "How?" "They're not prepared for our type of warfare," Rachel explained. "Their ships are designed for big battles with lots of shooting, but we can hit them before they even know we're there. We can pick them apart one by one." Amy Blake had just returned to the bridge after landing our fighter. "Captain, my pilots are ready for anything. Just give us the word." Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. These were the best and brightest that humanity had to offer. They were about to face the most powerful alien fleets in the galaxy, and they were doing it with just one ship. But it was a very special ship, crewed by very special people. "All right," Jake said. "Let's show these aliens what humans are really made of." The Leviathan continued to hang invisible in space, watching and waiting. Soon, Admiral Harrison would reveal their presence to the shocked alien delegates. And then the real demonstration would begin. The aliens thought they knew what humans were capable of. They thought Earth was weak and defenseless. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The invisible giant was ready to show itself, and when it did, the galaxy would never be the same. The silence in the convention hall was complete. 50,000 alien beings stared up at the transparent dome, waiting to see what would happen. Admiral Kyle Harrison stood calmly in the center of the speaking area, his hand still touching the communication device on his wrist. High above Vexus Prime, Captain Jake Sullivan received the signal on the bridge of the USS Leviathan. "This is it," he said to his crew. "All hands, prepare for revelation protocol." Dr. Rachel Kim looked up from her science station. "Stealth systems are ready to disengage on your command, Captain." Jake took a deep breath. For 3 days, they had been completely hidden from the alien fleets. Now they were about to announce their presence to the entire galaxy. "Begin revelation protocol. Take us from full stealth to visible in 60 seconds. The Leviathan stealth systems began to shut down in a carefully planned sequence. The ship's hull, which had been bending light around itself like a stone in a stream, slowly began to allow light to reflect normally. To anyone watching from below, it would look like the ship was materializing out of nothing. In the convention hall, Ambassador Toth was the first to notice something changing in the sky. "What is that?" he said, pointing upward. A dark shadow was forming above the convention center. At first, it was just a slight distortion in the starlight, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. But the shadow grew larger and more solid with each passing second. Admiral Vorthak stood up, his red eyes burning with anger. "This is some kind of trick," he snarled. "Humans do not have the technology to hide ships from our sensors." "Perhaps your sensors are not as good as you think," Kyle replied calmly. The shadow in the sky was now clearly visible as the outline of a massive ship. The alien delegates began to murmur in confusion and fear. The ship was huge, much larger than any vessel they had ever seen. It was longer than the biggest Zinkari dreadnought and wider than a Kethver crystal city. "Impossible," whispered a Threx commander. "No ship can be that large." But the USS Leviathan was that large, and it was still becoming more visible. The ship's hull was a dark gray color that seemed to absorb light. Weapon ports lined its sides, like the eyes of some ancient predator. Launch bays opened along its length, revealing the shapes of smaller ships inside. The convention hall erupted in chaos. Alien delegates jumped to their feet, shouting in dozens of different languages. Some demanded explanations. Others called for their fleets to attack. A few simply stared in shocked silence. Ambassador Toth called for order, but his voice was lost in the noise. The carefully planned convention was falling apart as the reality of human technology sank in. On the Leviathan's bridge, Jake was watching the scene below through the ship's cameras. "How are they taking it?" he asked. "About as well as we expected," replied Commander Amy Blake. "I count at least 12 species calling for their fleets to go to battle stations." "Let them," Jake said. "We're ready." Admiral Harrison raised his hand for silence. Slowly, the noise in the hall died down. When he spoke, his voice was calm and clear. "Distinguished delegates, allow me to introduce the USS Leviathan, flagship of the Earth Defense Fleet. She has been observing this convention for 3 days, studying your ships and listening to your conversations." The silence that followed was deafening. The implications of Harrison's words were sinking in. If the humans had been watching for 3 days, what had they seen? What had they heard? Admiral Vorthak was the first to recover from the shock. "You dare spy on us?" he roared. "This is an act of war." "No," Harrison replied. "This is an act of caution." We came here in peace, but we came prepared. High above, the Leviathan was now completely visible. The ship was enormous, dwarfing even the largest alien vessels. But size was not its most impressive feature. As the delegates watched, the ship's fighter squadrons began to launch. Commander Blake was leading the first wave of fighters out of HFY. The Leviathan's launch bays. Her squadron of 12 advanced fighters moved in perfect formation, their sleek shapes cutting through space like silver arrows. "All squadrons, this is Blake," she said over the radio. "Formation flying, demonstration. Pattern Alpha. Let's show them what human pilots can do." The human fighters began a complex aerial display above the convention center. They moved in 3 dimensions, weaving between each other in patterns that seemed impossible. No alien pilot had ever seen anything like it. Dock Lieutenant Chris Parker was flying in the 2nd Squadron. His job was to demonstrate the fighters' advanced capabilities. "Look at this," he said to his wingman as he put his fighter into a spiral that would have torn apart any alien ship. The human fighters could turn faster, accelerate quicker, and maneuver in ways that defied alien understanding of physics. They moved like living things, responding to their pilots' thoughts almost before the pilots had finished thinking them. In the convention hall, the alien delegates watched in growing amazement. The Kethvar, who prided themselves on their graceful ships, had never seen anything move so beautifully. The Threks, masters of swarm tactics, were stunned by the precision of the human formations. "How is this possible?" asked a Void Walker captain. "Those ships are moving in ways that should destroy them." Dr. Kim was monitoring the alien communications from the Leviathan. "Captain, they're trying to figure out how our fighters work." "There. Scientists are going crazy trying to understand our technology." "Let them wonder," Jake replied. "The longer they think about it, the more impressed they'll be." Admiral Harrison was not finished with his demonstration. "As you can see, Earth has developed certain technological advantages. But we have not used these advantages to attack or threaten anyone. We have used them to learn and to protect ourselves." He touched his wrist device again. "Dr. Kim, please share your analysis with our guests." On the Leviathan, Rachel activated the ship's communication systems. Suddenly, every screen in the convention hall lit up with detailed technical readouts. The aliens found themselves looking at complete tactical analyses of their own ships. For the past 3 days, Rachel's voice echoed through the hall. "We have been studying your vessels. We know the location of every weapon, the strength of every shield, the composition of every armor plate. The display showed weaknesses in Xanthari dreadnoughts that even the Xanthari didn't know existed. It revealed blind spots in Kethvar crystal ships that could be exploited. It detailed the exact timing needed to counter Threk's swarm tactics. This is impossible," said a Xanthari engineer. "Our ships are perfect. There are no weaknesses." But the human analysis was showing him that there were weaknesses, many of them. The Xanthari had been so focused on building big guns that they had forgotten to protect their power systems. The Kethvar had made their ships beautiful but fragile. The Threks had created swarms that were strong together but weak when separated. "Admiral," Vorthak stood up, his massive form shaking with rage. "Even if you can see our weaknesses, you are still only one ship. We have hundreds of vessels. You cannot defeat us all." Harrison smiled. "Admiral, you are making the same mistake that many have made throughout history. You are assuming that bigger is always better." On the Leviathan, Jake was watching the alien fleet formations through his ship's sensors. "All squadrons, prepare for tactical demonstration. We're going to show them what one human ship can do." The human fighters regrouped around the Leviathan. From the ground, the sight was impressive. The massive supercarrier hung in space like a metal mountain, surrounded by its escort of deadly fighters. But the most impressive thing was not what the aliens could see. It was what they could not see. The Leviathan's sensors were showing Jake that there were other human ships in the area, still hidden by their stealth systems. "Admiral," Jake said into his communicator, "should we show them everything?" Harrison's voice came back immediately. "Not yet, Captain. Let them think the Leviathan is all we have. We'll save the rest for later." In the convention hall, the alien delegates were struggling to understand what they were seeing. The humans had appeared with technology that was clearly superior to their own. They had been watching and studying for days without being detected. And they had done it all with apparent ease. "What do you want?" Ambassador Toth asked Harrison. "Why have you revealed yourselves now?" Harrison looked around the hall at the faces of alien delegates. Some showed fear, others anger, and a few showed something that might have been respect. "We want the same thing we have always wanted," he said. "Peace, cooperation, and the chance to take our place among the stars as equals. We came here because you invited us. We brought the Leviathan because we knew you would try to intimidate us." Admiral Vorthak stepped forward. "You think one ship makes you our equals? You think your tricks impress us? Prove it. Face our fleet." In combat, the hall fell silent. The Xanthari admiral was challenging the humans to a battle. It was exactly what Harrison had hoped would happen. "Very well," Harrison said. "But let us make it interesting. A demonstration battle with non-lethal weapons. Your best ships against our one vessel." Vorthek laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "You would face our entire fleet with just one ship? You are either very brave or very stupid." "Perhaps both," Harrison replied. "But we accept your challenge." The alien delegates began talking excitedly among themselves. A battle between the human supercarrier and the combined alien fleet Wool. The space around Vexus Prime buzzed with activity as alien fleets prepared for the most unusual battle in galactic history. Admiral Vorthek had called for 12 of his best ships to join the demonstration. The Kethver contributed 4 of their crystal dreadnoughts. The Threx sent 6 swarm carriers. Even the mysterious Void Walkers agreed to participate with 2 of their phase ships. In total, 24 of the galaxy's most powerful warships were preparing to face one human vessel. Captain Jake Sullivan stood on the bridge of the USS Leviathan, watching the alien ships form up into battle formations. Each ship was impressive in its own way. The Xanthari dreadnoughts were massive and heavily armed. The Kethver ships sparkled like diamonds and could bend energy to their will. The Threx carriers were ready to launch thousands of small fighters. The Void Walker ships seemed to flicker, in and out of reality. "Captain," said Dr. Rachel Kim from her science station, "I'm reading full power on all alien vessels. They're taking this demonstration very seriously." Jake nodded. "Good. So are we. Commander Blake, are your squadrons ready?" Amy Blake looked up from her tactical station. "All 200 fighters are armed and ready, Captain. We've loaded non-lethal plasma charges as agreed. They'll disable enemy systems without causing permanent damage." "Excellent. Lieutenant Parker, what's the status of our main weapons?" Chris Parker, who had been promoted to weapons officer for this mission, checked his displays. "All gun batteries are loaded with training rounds. They'll punch through armor and shut down systems, but they won't destroy the ships." Jake was pleased. The humans had agreed to use non-lethal weapons, but that didn't mean they were going to make the battle easy. The alien ships would be disabled and humiliated, but their crews would survive to tell the story. "All stations report ready, Captain," Amy announced. Jake activated the ship's communication system. "This is Captain Sullivan of the USS Leviathan. We are ready to begin the demonstration." Admiral Harrison's voice came back from the planet below. "Understood, Captain. The rules are simple. The battle ends when one side surrenders or is unable to continue fighting. Non-lethal weapons only. May the best fleet win. Admiral Vorthak's voice boomed over the communication channel. Prepare to learn humility, humans. You may have surprised. U.S., but you are still only one ship against our mighty fleet. The battle began with the Threx making the first move. Their 6 swarm carriers launched clouds of small fighters, filling the space around the Leviathan with hundreds of targets. The Threx fighters moved in perfect coordination, like a school of fish attacking a whale. Amy Blake smiled as she watched the enemy fighters approach. All squadrons, this is Blake, Defensive Pattern Omega. Let's show them what real coordination looks like. The human fighters launched from the Leviathan's base in perfect formation. Unlike the Threx, who relied on numbers, the humans relied on skill and superior technology. Each human fighter was worth 10 alien fighters, and it showed. Lieutenant Chris Parker watched from the bridge as the 2 fighter groups met in space. Look at that, he said in amazement. Our pilots are dancing around them like they're standing still. The human fighters moved in 3 dimensions, using maneuvers that the alien pilots had never seen before. They could change direction instantly, accelerate to incredible speeds, and turn in ways that should have been impossible. Commander Blake was leading her squadron through the heart of the alien fighter swarm. Her targeting computer was tracking dozens of enemies at once, and her weapons were firing with perfect precision. Each shot disabled an alien fighter without destroying it. This is too easy, Lake said over the radio. These Threx pilots are good, but they're not ready for our kind of warfare. The alien fighters tried to surround the humans, but the humans were too fast and too smart. They slipped through the alien formations like ghosts, striking and disappearing before the enemy could react. On the Leviathan's bridge, Jake was watching the battle with satisfaction. First wave is going well. What are the big ships doing? Doctor Kim checked her sensors. The Zenthari dreadnoughts are moving into firing position. They're trying to get close enough to use their main guns. Let them come, Jake said. We'll give them something to shoot at. The Zenthari ships were enormous and heavily armed, but they were also slow and predictable. They moved in straight lines, relying on their thick armor to protect them from enemy fire. Against other alien races, this tactic worked well. Against humans, it was a mistake. All gun batteries, target the lead Zenthari ship, Jake ordered. Let's see how good their armor really is. The Leviathan's main guns opened fire, sending streams of training rounds toward the alien dreadnought. The shots were perfectly aimed, hitting weak points in the ship's armor that Dr. Kim had identified during their reconnaissance. The Zenthari ship shuddered as the human weapons struck home. Its shields flickered and failed. Several of its gun batteries went offline. The ship was still functional, but it was clearly hurt. Impossible, Admiral Vorthak said over the communication channel. Our armor is the strongest in the galaxy. How are you penetrating it so easily? Perhaps your armor is not as strong as you think, Jake replied calmly. The Kethfer ships decided to join the battle. Their crystal hulls began to glow as they charged their energy weapons. The Kethfer were masters of energy manipulation, and their weapons could cut through almost any material. Beams of pure energy lanced out from the crystal ships, striking the Leviathan's hull. The human ship's shields absorbed most of the damage, but some of the energy got through. Shield generators are holding, reported Chris Parker. But those energy weapons are impressive. Jake nodded. Time to show them what our shields can really do. Activate adaptive armor. The Leviathan's hull began to change color and texture. The ship's adaptive armor was analyzing the incoming energy beams and adjusting its composition to better resist them. Within seconds, the Kethfer weapons were having much less effect. How is that possible? Asked a Kethfer captain. Our weapons cut through everything. Not everything, Jake replied. You just haven't met the right target yet. The battle continued with the Void Walker ships trying their phase tactics. They would disappear from normal space and reappear right next to the Leviathan, hoping to attack from close range where the big ship's guns couldn't target them. But Dr. Kim had been studying Void Walker technology for 3 days. Captain, I can track their phase jumps. They leave energy signatures that our sensors can follow. Show me, Jake said. Rachel displayed the Void Walker movement patterns on the main screen. They're predictable. They always reappear on the target's weak side, but we don't have a weak side, Jake smiled. All gun batteries prepare for close-range engagement. Target coordinates coming up when the Void Walker ships reappeared next. To the Leviathan, they found themselves looking down the barrels of dozens of human weapons. The training rounds struck them before they could phase out again, disabling their engines and leaving them drifting in space. Void Walker ships are out of the fight, reported Chris Parker. That's 2 down, 22 to go. The alien fleet was beginning to realize that they were facing something completely new. The humans were not fighting like any race they had ever encountered. They were using tactics and technology that seemed impossible. Commander, Blake's fighter squadrons had cleared most of the Threx fighters from space. The few remaining alien fighters were retreating back to their carriers, unable to match the speed and skill of the human pilots. Threx swarm is broken, Blake reported. Their carriers are trying to launch more fighters, but we can pick them off as they leave the launch bays. Jake watched as his fighters systematically disabled the Threx carriers. The alien ships were designed to overwhelm enemies with numbers, but they couldn't launch enough fighters fast enough to replace the ones the humans were destroying. Threx carriers are out of action, Jake announced. That leaves the Zenthari and Kethver. The remaining alien ships were regrouping, trying to form a new battle plan. They had expected an easy victory against one human ship. Instead, they were being systematically defeated by tactics they didn't understand. Admiral Vorthak's voice crackled over the communication channel. This is impossible. You cannot defeat our entire fleet with one ship. We're not just one ship, Jake replied. We're one crew, working together with perfect coordination. That's something your alliance has never learned to do. The Zenthari admiral ordered his remaining ships to attack together. All 8 dreadnoughts opened fire at once, sending a massive barrage of energy bolts toward the Leviathan. The human ship's shields flared as they absorbed the attack. For a moment, it looked like the alien weapons might overwhelm the Leviathan's defenses. But the human ship held together, its advanced shield systems distributing the energy across the entire hull. Shields at 60%, reported Chris Parker. But holding steady. Return fire, Jake ordered. All batteries, maximum rate of fire. The Leviathan's response was devastating. Dozens of weapons fired at once, each shot precisely aimed at weak points in the alien ships. The training rounds punched through Zenthari armor like it was paper, disabling gun batteries, shield generators, and engine systems. Within minutes, 6 of the 8 Zenthari dreadnoughts were drifting helplessly in space. The remaining 2 ships tried to retreat. The great convention hall on Vexus Prime had never been so quiet. 50,000 alien beings sat in stunned silence, trying to process what they had just witnessed. The most powerful fleets in the galaxy had been defeated by a single human ship, and not one enemy life had been lost. Admiral Kyle Harrison stood at the center of the speaking area, watching the faces of the alien delegates. Some showed fear, others confusion, and a few showed something that might have been hope. Ambassador Toth was the first to break the silence. Admiral Harrison, in 300 years of galactic conventions, we have never seen anything like this. Your ship's capabilities are beyond our understanding. Our capabilities are the result of human ingenuity and cooperation, Harrison replied. But they are not meant to threaten anyone. They are meant to protect. Admiral Vorthak had been brought down from his damaged flagship. The once proud Zenthari commander looked smaller somehow, as if the defeat had taken something essential out of him. Human Admiral, I must ask ... How long have you possessed such technology? Harrison chose his words carefully. We have been developing our capabilities for several years. But more importantly, we have been learning about the galaxy and its people. Learning about us? Asked a Kethver delegate, her crystal form shimmering with confusion. What do you mean? Dr. Rachel Kim's voice came over the communication system. From the USS Leviathan. Distinguished delegates, for the past 2 years, human ships have been conducting peaceful reconnaissance throughout the galaxy. We have visited your worlds, studied your cultures, and monitored your communications. The hall erupted in shocked voices. The implications were staggering. If humans had been watching for 2 years, how much did they know? What secrets had they discovered? You have been spying on us? Demanded a Threx commander, his insect-like features twisted with anger. We have been learning, Harrison corrected. There is a difference. We wanted to understand our neighbors before we introduced ourselves properly. Ambassador Toth raised his hand for silence. What exactly have you learned, Admiral? Harrison activated a holographic display that showed a map of the galaxy. Different sectors were highlighted in various colors. We have learned that the galaxy is not as peaceful as it appears. We have discovered slave trading in the Outer Rim. We have found evidence of illegal weapons, development in the neutral zone. We have identified several pirate fleets that prey on weaker species. The alien delegates shifted uncomfortably. Many of them knew about these problems, but had chosen to ignore them. It was easier to look the other way than to take action. We have also learned about the secret planning sessions that some of you have been holding, Harrison continued. Sessions where you discussed dividing up human territory after destroying Earth's defenses. Admiral Vorthak looked down at the floor. You know about that? We know about many things, Harrison said. But we also know that fear and misunderstanding often drive bad decisions. That is why we chose to reveal ourselves this way, through demonstration rather than threat. A young Void Walker captain stood up. What do you want from us? What are your demands? Harrison smiled. We don't have demands. We have a proposal. The holographic display changed to show a new image. A network of ships patrolling the galaxies. Orders and trade routes. The ships were clearly human in design, but they carried the symbols of many different species. We propose a new kind of galactic defense network, Harrison explained. Human stealth technology combined with the best that each species has to offer. Ships that can protect trade routes, rescue stranded vessels, and stop pirates before they can attack. Dr. Kim's voice came over the communication system again. We have already designed hybrid fighters that combine human stealth with Kethver energy systems, Threx swarm coordination, and Zenthari durability. These ships would be crewed by mixed species teams, working together for the common good. The delegates began to whisper among themselves. The proposal was unlike anything they had ever heard. Most galactic alliances were based on mutual fear or shared enemies. This was different. This was based on cooperation and shared responsibility. An elderly Kethver scientist stood up. Admiral Harrison, why should we trust you? You have demonstrated that you could destroy any of our fleets. What prevents you from simply taking what you want? Because taking is not the human way, Harrison replied. We believe that cooperation is stronger than conquest. We believe that protecting others protects ourselves. Captain Jake Sullivan's voice joined the conversation from the Leviathan. Distinguished delegates, at this moment, my ship is helping to repair the vessels we disabled in the demonstration. We could have destroyed them, but we chose to heal them instead. That is the difference between human warfare and what you are used to. On the view screen, The delegates could see human repair shuttles working alongside alien crews to fix the damaged ships. Human engineers were sharing their technology freely, showing alien mechanics how to repair systems that had been disabled by human weapons. Commander Amy Blake was leading one of the repair teams. She was working with a group of Zenthari engineers to restore power to their flagship. "Your ship is well built," she told them. "With a few modifications, it could be even better." The Zenthari engineers were amazed by her knowledge of their technology. She understood their systems better than some of their own people did. But more than that, she was willing to share human improvements freely. Lieutenant Chris Parker was working with a Threx repair crew. "Your fighters are fast," he said, "but they're fragile. If we combine your speed with our armor technology, they would be nearly unstoppable." Similar scenes were playing out all over the disabled fleet. Humans were not acting like conquerors. They were acting like helpful neighbors. Back in the convention hall, the delegates were beginning to understand what they were really being offered. This was not a demand for surrender. It was an invitation to partnership. A Threx Queen spoke for the first time. "Admiral Harrison, you say you want cooperation, but cooperation requires trust. How do we know you will not use your superior technology against us?" Harrison nodded. "That is a fair question. Let me answer it this way." The holographic display changed again, showing detailed technical specifications for human stealth technology. The aliens gasped. These were the secrets that made human ships invisible. "We are prepared to share our stealth technology with any species that joins the Galactic Defense Network," Harrison announced. "We will teach you how to build ships like the Leviathan. We will train your pilots in human tactics. We will make you our equals in all things." The hall was silent again, but this time it was the silence of amazement rather than shock. No galactic power had ever offered to share their most advanced technology freely. Admiral Vorthak looked up at Harrison. "You would give us the secrets of your stealth ships, even after we planned to attack your world?" "Especially because of that," Harrison replied. "Fear led you to plan that attack. Knowledge and partnership will prevent such fears in the future." Ambassador Toth stood up slowly. "Admiral Harrison, what you are proposing would change the entire structure of galactic civilization. The implications are enormous." "Yes, they are," Harrison agreed. "But the current structure is not working. Pirates raid freely. Slavery continues in the shadows. Stronger species prey on weaker ones. We can do better." Dr. Kim's voice came over the communication system one more time. "We have prepared detailed proposals for each species, showing how your unique capabilities could contribute to the defense network. The Kethver energy manipulation, Threx coordination systems, Zenthari durability, Void Walker phase technology. All of it working together." The young Void Walker captain spoke again. "And humans would lead this network?" "No," Harrison said firmly. "We would all lead it together. Decisions would be made by consensus. No single species would have ultimate authority." The delegates began to talk among themselves more actively now. The fear was fading, replaced by curiosity and even excitement. For the first time in galactic history, someone was offering true partnership instead of domination. A Kethver scientist raised her hand. "Admiral, we would like to accept your proposal, but we need time to study the technical specifications and discuss them with our government." "Of course," Harrison replied. "This is not a decision to be made quickly. Take all the time you need." Other delegates began to express similar interest. The Threx wanted to learn about human coordination techniques. The Void Walkers were fascinated by stealth technology. Even some of the Zenthari were beginning to see the benefits of cooperation. "Admiral." Vorthak approached Harrison privately. "Human Admiral, I owe you an apology. I judged your species based on fear and ignorance. Your demonstration today was not just of military power, but of wisdom and restraint. "Apology accepted," Harrison said, "but I hope you will consider joining our network. The galaxy needs strong defenders, and the Zenthari have always been strong." 6 months later, the first joint patrol of the Galactic Defense Network launched from Earth's Luna Station. The squadron consisted of ships from 12 different species, all equipped with human stealth technology and crewed by mixed species teams. Commander Blake was training the first group of alien pilots in human fighter tactics. Lieutenant Parker was working with Zenthari engineers to develop new arm.